Hi everyone, so now we are going to discuss one problem that is called minimum steps to 1. Right? So in this problem you are given a number n and you need to convert this number into 1, and you are given certain conditions that you can reduce n into n by 3 if n is divisible by 3, you can reduce n into n by 2 if n is divisible by 2, or you can subtract 1 from it. For example, let me start with the number 5 and I need to convert this into 1. So what you can do, you can say okay, I can go to 4, and from 4 I can go to either 2 by dividing it by 2, or from 4 I can go to 3 by dividing it by subtracting 1 from here, and from here I can go to 1 by subtracting 1, or I can go to 1 by dividing 1, and from here I can go to 1 by dividing it by 3, or from here I can go to 2 by subtracting 1, and from here again I can go to 1 by subtracting 1 or by dividing it by 2. Okay, so you need to count what is the minimum number of steps needed to make this number as 1. Right? For example, if I give you a number 9, you can clearly say, okay, let's divide by 3 to make it 3, let's divide it by 3 to make it 1, and you can see you need only 2 steps. Right? But do you think this kind of approach, that if we divide it with a larger number to reach a smaller sub-problem, is optimal, right? So you can think of some test cases and you can find out the answer, right? And let me tell you that this approach is not optimal, right? So if you think greedily, right, so greedy approach is not correct. So greedy is not going to pass. Why? For example, if I give you a number 10, right, you can say, okay, the greedy approach would say we will reduce this to 5 by dividing it by 2, because 10 is divisible by 2, and from 5 I have only one option, I can go to 4, and from 4 I can go to 2, and from here I can go to 1. So you can see you need 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. You would need 4 number of steps. But in the ideal case, right, so if you try out all possibilities, from 10 you can go to 9, you can also go to 5, and you can say, okay, in order to make 10 as 1, I will first make 9 as 1, and to make 9 as 1, we know we can go to 8, we can go to 3, and that's it. And from 8 we know we can go to 7, and we can go to 4, and so on, right? So this will continue, but we know that we will reach 1 from this. So we need to find out the shortest path that takes 10 to 1, and from 5 again we know this tree is going to get repeated here. From 5 I can go to 4, and so on. Okay. So I need to find out what is the optimal answer for this sub-problem and what is the optimal answer for this sub-problem. For 9 we already know the answer is 2, because we have computed here, right? And from 5 we know the optimal answer would be 1, 2 and 3. You need 3 steps here, right? So in order to convert 10 into 1, how many steps you would need? You will say, okay, from 10 I can go to 9 or I can go to 5, so I will choose the one which gives me the minimum steps. So I can say my answer is, let's say this answer is, from n you go to n by 3, you can go to n by 2, or you can go to n minus 1. So you need to compute the answers for these sub-problems. Let's say this answer is x, this answer is y, this answer is z. So you can say f of n, which is the minimum number of steps to make n as 1, can be written as minimum of x, y, z plus 1, because you need one step to go from the current sub-problem to the sub-problem, right? So this can be again written as minimum of f of n by 3, f of n by 2, and f of n minus 1 plus 1, right? So this is what the recurrence would be, right? And this is the optimal solution to solve this problem. You are not going to say I'm going to pick the one which reduces my sub problem immediately, right? But pick the one which is globally optimum, right? Which gives you the best solution till the base case, right? So let me also just dry run this one. So for example, from 10 you make a call on 9, from here you make a call on 3, and from here you make a call on 1. And this one is going to return 0. Because in order to make 1 as 1, you need 0 steps. And from 3 you will say, okay, I can go to 2 also, I can go to 1 also. This 2 is going to return, this is going to make a call here, and this 1 is going to say 0, and this 2 is going to say 1. So 3 is going to compute, there are two ways, 1 via 2, 1 via 1, so minimum is 0, plus 1 is 1. And from 9 you make a call on 3, you make a call on 8, and you get to see, let's say this is some a number of steps, so minimum of 1 and a would be 1, and if you add a 1 here you will get this 2. So this returns a 2 here, and similarly this returns a 3 here, and you can say, okay, for 10 the answer is going to be minimum is 2 plus 1 you add, so it returns a 3 here. And here you can clearly see that there are many states which are going to be overlapping subproblems. For example, you can clearly see that this 4 and this 4 is going to be a overlapping subproblem, and it also satisfies the two properties we talked about. The first one is optimal substructure, where you can express a given problem in terms of similar subproblems, right? And second is your overlapping subproblems property, right? So you can have these two properties here, and you can solve it using dynamic programming, right? So this approach that we just discussed is called a top-down approach, and let's spend some time on talking about how we can approach this in a bottom-up manner, right? So top-down is a recursive approach with memoization, and bottom-up is an iterative approach in which you just need to compute the DP array in a bottom-up manner, right? So let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's say you need to know, okay, the very first thing that you need to know in this case is what is DP of 1, the smallest possible case. So you can clearly say the DP of 1 is going to be 0, because in order to make 1 as 0, you need only 0 steps, right? And let's also compute DP of 2. So what we are going to do, we are going to use a loop from I equals to 2, I less than equals to n, and I plus plus, and you need to compute DP of I. And DP of I can again be expressed using this kind of a relation, right? So what we are going to do, okay, so at DP of 2, I can say from 2 I can reach what states I can reach from 2. So you can reach 1 by dividing 2 by 2, or you can reach 1 by subtracting 1 from 2. So you can reach only this state, and the answer for this state is 0. So your final answer is going to be minimum of 0 and 0 plus 1. So this is going to be 1. So DP of 2 is going to be 1. What about 3? From 3 you can end up at 2 if you subtract 1, or if you divide it by 3 you can end up at 1. So these are the two states that you can reach. So the minimum of 0 and 1 is going to be 0, and if you need to add 1, it will become 1. What about DP of 4? From DP of 4 you can go to 3, and you can go to 2. So minimum of 1 and 1 is 1 plus 1, it gives you 2. Let's talk about DP of 5. From 5 you can end up only in one state. From 5 you can go only to 4, because it is not divisible by 3, it is not divisible by 2. So the answer is going to be 2 plus 1, 3. From 6 you can end up at 5, you can end up at 3, you can end up at 2. So your answer is going to be minimum of 1, 1 and 3, which is 1 plus 1, it is going to be 2. Similarly for 7 you can do the work, 8 you can compute, 9 you can compute, and so on. For example, if I talk about DP of 9, you can end up at 8, you can end up at 3, and you take the minimum and get your answers. Similarly, you compute this till the last state, right? And you can see this DP of I can be computed in O1 time. So the overall complexity of this would be order of n. You need to compute n states, and each state takes order 1 time to compute. And similarly in the top-down approach, if you use memoization, you will make sure that you are not computing each state more than once, right? So this makes your entire time complexity as order of n, both in the top-down and in the bottom-up case, right? So in the next part, we will see the implementation, but I would suggest if you can just write down the code yourself, and it's a pretty easy code that you can definitely write. So thanks a lot. See you guys in the next part.